All right. Welcome, everybody, for Starting Solids 101, our quarterly event here to help you start solids confidently. I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder of Lalo, joined by Kim Granowitzki from Solid Starts, who's a feeding specialist and a mom. We're going to let people file in here, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. While we're getting started, if you wouldn't mind, go over to the chat down at the bottom, click for everyone that you're messaging everyone, not just hosts and panelists, and then tell us where you're joining from. It's always fun to see how far and wide you all join from. The first one, Romania, like I said, always so fun to see how far and wide. LA, Brooklyn, Ann Arbor, Ohio, Washington State, Omaha, Nebraska, Columbus, Ohio, boo, go blue. Um, sorry, Bronxville, New York, Canada, Kansas City, Ottawa, Israel, New Jersey, Vancouver, uh, Michigan, Orange County, Fort Worth, Chicago, Northern Utah,
I
more
just saw
Canada,
Germany.
Germany, uh, Mississippi, more Canada, Denmark, Virginia, San Diego, India. Wow. I think, what is it, like 1 a.m. there? California, Bermuda in the ocean, um, Lancaster, Chicago, Peru, Cincinnati. So definitely far and wide. While people keep chiming in there, I love the international audience joining us. That's awesome. I'd love to just put up two polls for you to answer. The first is, how old is your little one? Always good to see who else is in the room, where you guys are at. It helps also Kim and me answer your questions more adequately and just get a gauge of who's in the room. So, as expected, the large amount of you are between 0 and 6 months old, or your little ones are, and then some in that 6 to 12 month, and then some toddler parents in here as well. And always good to see some expecting parents as well. We understand uh, the excitement of getting into all these stages and milestones that are ahead for you, but also congratulations on your little one to come. All right, I'm going to end that poll. So yeah, 63% of you, just so you guys know, are 0 to 6 months. So you're in the same boat. You're all going through the same things. I'm going to ask one more thing, which is, um, where is it? Have you started solids yet? So also good to see like where your experience level is and your comfort level. Um, if you're brand new to this, we want to know. Okay, and people are still filing in, so we'll answer this poll and then we'll get right to it, to the meat of the combo.
I think a lot
All
of
right.
people are chatting the answers too.
Yeah. Yeah, chatting, poll, whatever you want to do. Good to see. Um, all right. Looks like, so I'll share these results. You guys can see them. 46% not yet, 26%, yep, you're in it, and then another 28%, just a little bit. You've dipped your toe in the water. So just really, really quick to set the ground rules of why we're here today. And once again, I'm Michael Weeder. I'm the co-founder of Lalo. I'm joined every quarter by Kim Granowitzki, who is a feeding specialist over at Solid Starts, as well as many other titles and acronyms after her name, which I'm drawing a blank on, but most importantly, also a mom. And so she's got the real life experience, the professional experience. I just bring the real world side. I'm a dad of two. I have a 6 year old and a 3.5 year old. We're well past this stage now, but one that's still in my mind every day. And obviously very, very near and dear to all of our customers at Lala who are going through these stages. And we like to, help with them in this journey to not solve your problem, but to bring your anxiety level down a little bit. So you may be feeling here, for those that haven't started yet, it might feel daunting. It might feel scary. Choose another adjective if you want. What Kim and my goal here is today is to make you feel a little bit more zen about the process of starting solids. Maybe not zen about the mess that is sure to come, because that is inevitable. But every quarter that we do this, and every time I do this with Kim, I leave learning something new, and I know our audience leaves feeling that sense of support and peace and excitement for starting the process. So, last housekeeping is, as always, we are doing a giveaway at this webinar. In order to win, you need to stick around to the end. That's when we will announce. This time, very special, 5 winners. We usually do one. This time is 5. So first of all, you're going to get the new Solid Starts book. You're going to get a full year subscription to Solid Start and you are going to get the whole collection of our new stainless steel feeding line, which includes so many great things, including a suction plate, a straw cup, our very famous bento box, stainless steel utensils, our little dipper snack box, which if you're a millennial like me, these look like little stainless steel Dunkaroo containers, and a suction divided plate. So stainless steel plate. So very excited to announce those winners at the end. We'll have to get through all of it. If you don't win, and I'll remind you of this at the end, it's all at Target right now. So it's in 1,000 Target stores all around the country. So chances are there's one near you. And also this week through Saturday, it's buy one, get one 50% off at Target. So highly suggest you go check it out. We have heard that a lot of Targets are sold out right now. So definitely encourage you to check it out. All right, I'm done talking. Now it's up to you, Kim. We're here to talk about starting solids. Thank you again for joining us. I think the first question that always comes up is like, when? How do you know that your little one is ready to get started?
Yeah, I love this question. And I wish there was a really straightforward answer because it's not about age, it's about developmental signs of readiness. There are three main signs of readiness that we're looking for your baby to be able to do. We want them to be able to sit with a little bit of help. Now, this doesn't need to be perfect. We just want them to be able to either sit on your lap or sit on the floor with either your hands on their hips or sit in the high chair and they're not toppling over. The second thing we want them to be able to do is we want them to actually be able to use their hands when they're sitting. If you put a 4-month-old in a high chair, they may be able to like use every muscle in their body to keep themselves upright, but there's no way they can reach and grasp and use their arms. As your baby gets a little bit older and a little bit stronger, they're able to sit, reach out and grab something and then bring it to their mouth. So if you were to hand them a toy, they could grab it and bring it up to their mouth. And then the last thing, and a very often overlooked one, is we want the baby to be able to be interested in food and eating, looking around. Again, that 4-month-old might come to the table, fall asleep, want to nurse, get fussy. They're really not engaged. You bring a little bit of an older baby to the table, they're like, what is that? I'm so curious about that. I want to put that in my mouth. Give me that. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. So the three things that we're looking for, being able to sit with a little bit of help, ability to reach and grab and bring those hands to the mouth when they're sitting, and then interest in food and eating. Most babies are going to be doing all of these things somewhere around 6 months. Some are a little closer to 5 or 5.5. My first daughter was closer to 6.5, 7. My second daughter was closer to 5.5. Somewhere between 5 and 7 months is typically when we see this. I know there are some people in the comments talking about babies who are born prematurely. You want to be looking at their chronological age as for when you think that's going to happen. So when your baby's been with us for around 6 months, you're probably going to see those skills.
Love that. Okay. So what I heard from you, it's more about every baby's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no rule here. If you don't cross the finish line at this date, like your baby's never going to eat solid food.
Yeah,
It's
and it
really
feels like it's
baby
a
specific.
competition, right? If you go into the doctor and you're like, "Oh my God, am I going to do it right? Am I going to miss this? Is it bad?" Meeting your baby where they're at, giving them the next challenge that their body is ready for is what we're hoping for here.
Awesome. Love it. One other quick housekeeping thing I forgot in all that excitement about our new products. If you have a question, throw it in the Q&A below. When it goes in the chat, we often miss it. And there absolutely will be time at the end to answer as many of your questions as possible. If this goes like past ones, we will get way too many questions. We'll try to answer as many as possible. But just wanted to clear that up. Okay. So now that you know your baby is ready to start, give me let's run this like a top five. What are the top 5 foods you think every parent should start with?
So the cool thing about starting solids is that essentially any food can be made safe and is a great place for your baby to start. My favorite 5 first foods are going to be different than yours, Michael, that are going to be different than someone in Germany, that's going to be different than someone in Mexico, then maybe different than my neighbor across the street. The beauty about starting solids is that it's your first opportunity where you get to share your food culture with your baby. So I share this story every single time, and I feel like it helps people kind of get in the groove here. I was pregnant for the first time in 2020. My oldest daughter is 5.5. And the first time, and everything was weird, right? I was working in the hospital. We didn't know what was going on. We were wearing masks. We weren't wearing masks. It just felt like a really stressful, weird time to be pregnant. And the first time that I felt my daughter move, I was eating pineapple. And so the first food that we gave Maeve was pineapple because it just felt like full circle moment of like maybe we are actually becoming parents in this very weird time that we're all living through. And my second daughter, we had just moved to the Midwest from California, and I was really missing my California roots. And so we started my second daughter on Taco Tuesday with steak fajitas. So strips of steak and strips of bell pepper. Now, for me, that was really special because, again, it just felt like I was bringing them into something that mattered to me. Now, if there isn't something that like jumps off of your head of like, this is something that's really meaningful, I totally want to start with this. There are, of course, foods that are very nutritious and great places for you to start. There are kind of two buckets. You can think about things that are iron rich and super nutritious, and then you can think of things that are super easy for baby to handle, and then you can think of things that are maybe easier for you to watch. So let me explain that. Iron rich, we're thinking about things like meats, leafy green vegetables, beans, lentils. These are foods that have lots of iron, which are really important for your baby at this age. The second group is things that are easy for your baby. That would be like oatmeal that's spread on their tray or put on a spoon. You can hand the spoon over, they can put that in their mouth. These smooth textures are really similar to what they've been managing in their mouth with breast milk and formula. So most babies can be pretty successful with these right off the bat. But then on the flip side of that, I love to talk about resistive food teethers. People are like, what in the world are you talking about? But this is your rib bone with the meat removed, your corn on the cob with all the kernels cut off, your mango with all the flesh cut off. So it's just the mango pit. These foods may seem really weird because they're not like foods, but they are something that you can eat at the same time, and your baby is just practicing the skills for chewing. They don't have to manage anything, they're just practicing all those skills, and you get to watch how capable they truly are.
I love that. I love that. Like for every parent, the first five foods can be different and then there's no set way. I think that does raise some questions for people of like, what about allergens? Like I have to make sure my kid isn't allergic. What I'm hearing you say is like the first five, you don't have to get that out of the way in the first five foods. It can come throughout the journey on the right timeline, but it's not like check that box first. Start what you feel comfortable with, maybe work them in then or maybe don't.
Yeah, and when it comes to allergens, there's a lot of anxiety, right? And you want that first experience to be really positive. Let's come to the table and like get our feet wet, figure out what we're doing, feel comfortable, have a really happy experience. Push the allergens out to the second week, right? Let's get those allergens started after you've kind of gotten the lay of the land, you know what you're doing. Now, with that being said, there are babies that are told by their pediatrician or their pediatric allergist that they should start solids or they should start allergens specifically early, and that can be around 4 months of age. For those babies, I like to think about those allergen introductions almost like a vitamin. It's not like you're starting solids at that moment, you're just giving the vitamin, these little bits of allergen every day because your baby is higher risk for allergies. So they want to get those exposures early on.
Yeah. I think this is a good point to just remind everybody that like what we're sharing here is not medical advice. What we're sharing here are tips for getting solid in practical manner from an expert and from real life experience. But if you have anything specific to your child and your family that is a medical concern, please go and talk to your pediatrician or find an expert that can be servicing you and your family's needs directly and ask those more intimate questions in that setting versus here on Zoom. But I think um, you know, like allergens are definitely daunting. Can you walk us through what are the allergens? Like, like how do we think about even approaching allergens? Like, what is the process about working that into starting solids?
Yeah. So introducing allergens has changed a lot in the last 10 years and even more in the last five. So it's hard for all of us to be up to date and know exactly what to do and how to get this process started. In the United States, there are 9 common allergens. And depending on what country you're in, this list actually may change a little bit, but I'm going to cover the 9 top that are in the United States: egg, peanut, dairy, which are the big three, tree nut, finned fish, shellfish, wheat, soy, and sesame. Getting to the ninth one is always like, oh, I'm going to forget it. So those are the 9 common allergens that are most likely to cause an allergic reaction. When it comes to introducing them, the research tells us that the 3 that you want to really make sure that you get in the first year of life are eggs, peanut, and dairy. While it is good to get them all, those 3 are like, those are the ones you don't want to miss. The key to introducing an allergen is that you want to start small and you want to introduce it across 3 subsequent um, introductions. Most people like to do it over 3 days. So you start with a eighth or a quarter of a teaspoon of, say, yogurt if you want to do dairy. The next day you're going to go up a little bit, so you'll do a quarter or a half of a teaspoon of that yogurt, and the following day after that you maybe will do a full teaspoon of yogurt. Generally, if they've had 3 exposures of progressively larger amounts without any signs of allergic reactions, you can say that your baby is most likely tolerant of that allergen. Now, allergies technically can pop up at any time, but the research tells us this is the way that we can lower the risk the most for our kids. The key and the hardest part here, and I have to admit, I have not been good about this with my own kids. And if we were to follow what the research said, I think we would be like crazy in the kitchen all the time. But the research says that keeping the allergens in the diet around 2 times a week up until age 5 is the key to getting the most protection. So say you introduce that yogurt, in week 2 of starting solids, you still want to keep offering yogurt once or twice a week to make sure that that dairy stays in the diet. Now, the other key about allergens is that you don't want to introduce 2 allergens at the same time. So if you're introducing yogurt, for example, you're not going to mix peanut butter in that for the first exposures. You want to do the allergens separately. Once they've both been offered a few times and you've ruled out the allergy, yeah, mix those 2 together because that's an easy way to keep those allergens in the diet. But when you're first introducing them, you keep them separate. You can, on the other hand, pair them with a non-allergenic food. So if you give your little bit of yogurt and then you're waiting 15, 20 minutes to see if your baby has a reaction, go ahead and give them a mango pit. Give them something else to eat and play with at the table. It's completely fine to put a non-allergen with an allergen, just not 2 allergens together.
What does an allergic reaction look like?
Mm-hmm. So the thing about allergic reactions that I think makes some parents feel a little bit better is that it's very black and white. It's either mild or severe. There's no like in between. So our allergist tends to tell families, think about the systems that are involved. So we have skin, we have breathing, and we have GI, tummy. So most of us think about allergic reactions, we think about skin. We think about hives, we think about rashes, not well like spread out hives, just a small patch of a rash or hives would be considered a mild reaction. If your baby has more than one symptom together, so say they have hives and breathing problems, 2 systems, right? Skin and respiratory, or they have a rash and their lips are swelling up, that would be automatically considered severe because we have 2 reactions. The other thing you're going to see is you're going to see this happen generally but within 15 to 20 minutes of giving the allergen. While there are some reactions that can be delayed, almost all of the time it's going to happen pretty soon after giving it. One thing that we may see that's a more delayed reaction is a GI related reaction where the baby has the food and then typically they like go to sleep because it's at night or they're going down for their nap and then they're vomiting or having diarrhea, like a lot of diarrhea. And that's a reaction called FPIES. It's very rare and it does need to have very close monitoring by an allergist. But if your baby has a food a couple times in a row and then they have these GI symptoms pretty consistently afterward, it's worth bringing up to your doctor. One little trick too for introducing allergens, do it naked. Because I can't tell you how many times babies will have no rash on their face, but the onesie comes off and they have hives on their body. So it's helpful to do it naked just so you can see their whole body. But to hopefully make everybody feel a little bit better, allergic reactions are very rare. I think it's only 8% of children generally will have an allergic reaction, and the amount of babies is even less than that. So while I know a lot of people want to introduce allergens like at their pediatrician's office or in the parking lot of the hospital, our allergist constantly says you don't need to have an EpiPen at home. Most kids are not going to have a reaction, and reactions are dose dependent. You're starting with a little tiny bit, a little taste of these foods. If there is a reaction, it's most likely not going to be super scary the first time.
Yeah. Yep. Just a reminder to everybody, put your questions in the Q&A. I see a lot coming in and we don't want to miss them. If you have them, they're probably worth answering. So just drop them in the Q&A. I did see one comment that I do want to address, which is eggs and dairy are separate allergens. Eggs are not dairy.
Yeah.
So please remember, those are two separate things. You got to get them both.
Yep.
And
And the
so
thing about
make sure.
eggs too that we hear a lot is that there was old advice to separate egg white and egg yolk. The new advice is to, unless you have been advised differently by your doctor, you do them together. So you like scramble eggs and then you mash a little bit to give your baby as a taste.
Awesome. All right. Moving on. Moving on. I have two more questions for you, and then I want to jump to all these amazing questions in the chat. So the first is about the other major anxiety around feeding starting solids, which is choking. And I know from our past that, like, there's a lot of gagging, there's a lot of visual cues, but choking is super rare. What can you like? I know that, like, usually, especially in partnered parenting, there's usually one parent that's super anxious about it and one that doesn't even think it's an issue. I was more the anxious parent. My wife was like, "Isn't that like, what are you talking about?" But then we started doing these sessions. I was like, "I'm freaking crazy. Like, this was obviously not anything to worry about." Um, can you help bring everybody through my journey of being the anxious parent and to becoming the non-anxious parent about choking?
Yeah, it completely makes sense why you would be an anxious parent about choking because the media makes you think that choking is a leading cause of issues, death in babies and young children. And when you actually look at the data, it's truly not. It's actually very, 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 very small percentage of babies and children who are affected by true choking events in the United States. With that said, we want to make sure that we are preparing our environment and preparing ourselves and our babies to be as safe as possible because let's control what we can control. The number one thing that I can tell you about choking is that it is extremely responsive to high quality choking rescue. Everyone who's taking care of your child, whether it is a grandma, whether it is grandpa, a childcare provider, a babysitter, should all be trained in choking rescue from the first day that they start taking care of your baby. The importance of that can't be, I don't think I can underscore that enough because it is more common for babies to choke on non-food items than food items. So anyone in this room that has a 7, 8, or 9 month old, you've probably seen them crawling around all over the floor and picking up everything that they can see because the pincer grasp does not discriminate. Your baby will pick up anything on the ground and put it in their mouth to explore it. My friends have a text competition of like, what's the weirdest thing you've taken out of your kid's mouth? And it's anything from like a cockroach to a cigarette butt when no one in the home smokes. So who the heck knows where that came from? The little plastic thing on the back of a door stopper, like the little white thing that goes plastic thing. Your babies will pick stuff up from off the floor, put it in their mouth, and continue to crawl around. That is what scares me way more than food because your baby is mobile. It's not something they're attempting to chew and it's in their mouth. So, knowing choking rescue, knowing what to do in the event of an emergency is your number one most important thing you can do. Number two, know that the research tells us that when a baby is in a well supported seated position, so that means their hips are nice and secure, they're able to keep their bodies nice and upright, they're not reclined backwards, which is one of those important things about a high chair, which we talk about a lot, and feeding themselves, the risk of choking is extremely, extremely low. This research actually started in nursing homes with geriatric population that they found that when nursing home residents fed themselves as opposed to nurses feeding them, the risk of choking decreased. And you'd think like nurse is a
Wow.
professional, they should know what they're doing. And it has nothing to do with the nurse knowing or not knowing what to do. It has to do with the fact that when they were feeding themselves, their brains were like, oh, I'm engaging in this task. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to close my mouth. I'm going to kick in all of the movements in my mouth I'm supposed to do to swallow safely. This research has been repeated in a variety of different populations, including babies. So, what we know is that when babies feed themselves, they are more likely to protect their airway and stay safe from choking. So, a baby that is supervised in a well supported high chair and feeding themselves, the risk of choking is very, very, very low. One other thing to keep in mind is that we all have tons of safety mechanisms to keep us safe from choking. Just because something scary is in your baby, your toddler, or grandpa's mouth does not mean they're going to choke on it. Our bodies are made to protect us. Babies, especially, have super strong protective mechanisms that keep things away from their breathing tube. We'll talk a lot about gagging, and everyone has questions about gagging, but gagging's actually a protective mechanism. We also really like to push stuff out of the mouth. So anybody with a young baby has probably seen, like, they put their hands in, their tongue's immediately sticking stuff out. That starts as a reflex, and then it just is a motor pattern they know really, really well. And after that, we all cough. So if something gets too far back in our throat, like if Michael drinks that drink too fast, he'll start coughing too, because our body wants to keep our airway clear. Coughing is not choking. I'm going to say it again. Coughing is not choking. Coughing is,
Everybody say it out
say
loud.
it out loud.
Repeat after
Coughing is
me.
not choking.
Coughing is not choking.
Coughing means air's flowing. It's pushing air out of the breathing tube. We want that. That's keeping stuff away. And then to top all of that off, the breathing tube closes on multiple levels when we swallow. So the inside of the breathing tube closes. There's a cap that goes on top of it. Everything's pushing stuff down the food tube and out of the mouth if it's in the wrong spot. It's very, very unlikely that all of these protective mechanisms fail all at the same time. With that said, can it happen? Yes. And that is when high quality, good choking rescue is super important, and be able to jump in and do that right away.
Yeah. And so what I understand from gagging is like gagging is going to happen because new textures, everything is brand new. You're literally starting solids. Like we've all had hummus in our mouth and broccoli and spinach and salmon and beef and like you name it, we've tried it all for the most part. And so we're used to those textures, those tastes, whatever, but everything is brand new. So like, yeah, something new. It took me over 35 years for some things. Like it's only over the last, 5 years that I've liked some things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything new that could cause a gagging reaction, which is also not choking.
Not joking. Yeah. Gagging is the brain's way of being like, wait, something's either not moving the way I expect it to in my mouth, which happens a lot with solids, or I'm not so sure about this and I don't know if I should swallow it. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to swallow it. So, I'm going to push it out. And because I don't want it to go in my breathing tube, I'm also going to close my breathing tube at the same time I'm pushing that out. So this could happen I've seen it on bottles. I've seen it during breastfeeding that's not going well. I've seen it on toys, on fingers, on hands, on purees, on spoons, on food, you name it. It's just the brain's way of being like, nope, 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 let's get that out. The therapist in me loves when I see a kid that was gagging food and spitting it out start gagging the food and moving it forward in their mouth, but then they start moving it to practice chewing it. It's like, oh, their brain has kicked in and figured out, I know what to do with this. I know how to fix that movement that wasn't working exactly right.
Yeah, love that. Okay, I'm gonna ask one last question, then we're gonna get to amazing questions in the Q&A that have come in. Um, Obviously, we're not putting a Michelin star meal on the table every meal. And, I see our products show up in Instagram all the time. And sometimes there's heaps of food, sometimes there's one little bit of that or this. What is the right amount to feed your child when you're starting out? And maybe let's just focus like under 1 years old or like at different stages, like as they're going, but all under one for now. Like, how much should we be giving our kids when they're just starting?
Yeah. So I want everyone to remember that when your baby first starts solids, they don't even know that the food in front of them is food. When they first start, that thing in front of them is just another toy that they want to explore with their mouth. And it takes some time for their body to realize, oh, I can swallow this. It tastes really good and it fills my belly. Up until the time you start solids, your baby knows breast milk, formula, bottles, breast, that's how I get full. And so when they're hungry, that's what they want. When you want them to start exploring solids, we want them to just explore it first. So they don't, they get used to the textures, they get used to the flavors, they get used to, heck, sitting in the high chair with distractions and the dog running around and their toddler sibling throwing stuff and the noises in the kitchen. It's a lot for them to learn about. So in the beginning, one piece of food is totally fine. I like to tell families, especially thinking about the impact of food waste and food insecurity and cost at this moment. You make your dinner, you pick one thing off of your plate that you can make sure is sized and cut appropriately for your baby. And our app is great to find to get those details, and take that off your plate and give it to your baby. Generally, in the first month or two of solids, your baby is probably going to explore that piece of food for a couple minutes and be done. And that's completely fine. Close to 8, 9 months, they might start having that click moment of, oh, food actually makes me feel full. I want to get this in my belly. At that point, start with that same small amount, one piece of food, two pieces of food, maybe a scoop or two of a puree if you're doing something like that, and look for them to tell you they want more. Your baby's behavior is communication. So, what they're doing at the table is telling you how to respond. If your baby has food in front of them and they start throwing it, they're windshield wipering it, they get fussy, don't think of that as they're being bad or they're doing something wrong. They're just saying, I'm over it, I'm done, I'm ready to move on. Of course, at that point, you can move them onto your lap and continue your meal and see if maybe they want to explore a little more, but they may or may not. Both completely fine. If your baby is sitting at the table and they've finished what's on the tray and they're still engaged and they're looking at you and they might even be grabbing for other things, give them another piece or two. It's completely fine to just respond to what they want. Somewhere between 9 and 12 months, most babies are taking a little bit less breast milk and formula. Not all. And I had a breast obsessed baby that didn't ever want to stop nursing ever. And she'd probably still be nursing today if I didn't wean her.
Same
But
with my 6-year-old.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's my 5-year old. So it must be something in that
COVID.
COVID babies. So, but a lot of babies are taking a little bit less between 9 and 12 months, and they're starting to take a little bit more food. Again, you're looking at them and at their hunger cues. We're not trying to give them a certain amount. By the time they hit 12 months, it's not uncommon for a lot of babies to be completely weaned off bottles and formula, but some babies still need them until they're closer to 15 to 18 months. That is totally fine. Do not feel behind if your baby is 13, 14 months and still needing some support from bottles. What we
Yeah.
just want to see is a gentle decrease in the amount of bottles and a slow increase in the amount of food. But something that's really tough for us to get our heads wrapped around, and I think this is a big generational change, especially if you have like grandparents watching your baby, is that the goal is not to finish the jar. It's not to get in a certain amount of ounces. What we really want to try to do is have your baby, even from the beginning, learn what it feels like to feel hungry and feels like to feel full so they can respond appropriately. I mean, I never learned to do that, and I totally eat
Yeah.
past full all the time. I will let myself be starving for hours and be like, shoot, I didn't eat lunch today. Like, I don't listen to my body, and I'm trying to help my my
I
kids
didn't
learn
eat
those
lunch
things.
today.
It's 2:30.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I hear you. It's like it progressively gets more, but it's not about nutrition in the early days. Nutrition will take over when your child is ready, and you really have to listen to your child and trust your intuition as a parent a little bit about what's needed. But
We
it's
can do
getting
the best we
frustrated.
can. We can do the best we can, right? You can serve, like
Exactly.
you said, the Michelin star perfect nutritious plate that has all iron rich foods that with a sprinkle of zinc and perfect complex carbs. I mean, you can make the most gorgeous plate ever, but if your baby doesn't want to eat it and they don't have the skill to eat it, it doesn't matter. So
Yep.
we just need to give them those opportunities to learn to eat those foods and be exposed to those foods so they have the chance to
Yep.
eat later.
Yeah, I mean, it's why with our original silicone bowls and plates, we sell them with lids because we know that probably there's going to be leftovers and you want to be able to just like be able to take it out for the next thing, the next meal of the day and not start all over again as a parent or waste the food or throw it out. In our stainless line, a lot of things have lids, like our nesting bowls or our bento boxes or our little dippers. Like there's lids because kids often don't finish, right?
Mhm.
And it's so wasteful. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of food. Um, to just be constantly throwing stuff away. And that's a real parental gripe. I think we can all relate to.
And that's a
All right.
favorite daycare hack. You do your dinner and then you put the lid on it, throw it in the fridge, and that gets packed for daycare the next day. So love
Yep.
that.
Yep. Okay, we are on to the audience questions. There are a lot in here, and I will start by apologizing. We will not get to all of these. If we don't get to yours, I apologize, but I think that there are some common themes in here, and I always try to take a quick look and blend them together. Um, so um, I saw one in here, which I think you'll love, Kim, knowing you, because we've talked about this before. But the question from Christina is, can you do both purees and baby-led weaning at the same time?
Yeah, yeah, I love this question. So there's such a debate on the internet and in all the mommy groups about whether you're doing one thing or doing the other. And if I could change one thing about feeding and parenting, it's that I wish we could like stop this dichotomy between one or the other. Baby led weaning literally just means you're letting baby take the lead. It has nothing to do with the kind of food you offer. So I'm going to say that again because I feel like this is one of those things that's so important. It has nothing to do with the kind of food. It has to do with letting baby take the lead. So I don't care if you feel more comfortable starting with purees and mashes, or if you want to go straight to finger foods, letting baby take charge of the feeding experience is key. That helps decrease choking risk. It helps your baby be engaged. We see less refusal behaviors when the baby is in charge. So even if you want to coat that spoon with puree and hand it over and let them feed themselves, awesome. Some parents even still want to control the spoon, and that's completely okay too. But I would try to give yourselves a goal to slowly decrease the amount of control you're giving, because your baby, number one, is going to show you pretty quickly that they want to be in control, and that's going to help make that feeding dynamic much easier. If you do want to control the spoon, just make sure that you're holding it and waiting for your baby to lean in and open their mouth and show that they are engaged. Generally, babies are so resilient. Your baby could be doing straight out Gerber purees, spoon feeding at daycare, and doing steak and potatoes at home, and they're going to learn both sets of skills. If you are doing primarily or only purees, my only advice from a choking and oral motor perspective is somewhere before 9 months. So around that 8, 9 month age, it's time to jump into some finger foods, because we need to let the baby learn and take advantage of reflexes that are slowly getting less strong in your baby. So if you start with all purees and mashes, getting to those finger foods sooner rather than later is just important. But doesn't have to have there's no dichotomy we need to have here.
Yeah.
Just let baby be in charge, listen to baby's communication, and you're doing it right.
And I feel like for the folks that, the baby-led weaning police that are out there, which they're not real police, don't be scared of them. They're not doing
I'm the
anything
baby led
wrong.
weaning police. It's me.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're policing the fact that baby-led weaning is not a thing to get wound up about versus the people telling you you're doing it wrong. So it you've said this before, Kim, is that we all in our life, like I feel like purees lose in this debate around the two, because it's like the old way versus the new way, or the right way or the wrong way. I had hummus last night, cottage cheese this
You
morning.
ate a
Like,
puree. Oh my gosh. You ate a
yeah,
puree.
mashed potatoes are probably one of my top three favorite foods. Like, I'm eating purees. So
Mhm.
purees are naturally occurring foods in our everyday cuisine, potentially, depending on the types of foods you eat. So it's not like purees are just baby food. Purees are
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's no
okay.
need to you don't have to buy baby food if you still want to do purees and mashes. You can mash up some avocado, do mashed potatoes,
Yep.
sauces, soups, hummus, yogurt, like the
Yep.
list goes on.
Things that you're going to eat too, I think is the point, right? Okay. So I'm going to try to combine a couple follow-up questions on allergens that people have and try to answer them in one. So one, and maybe rapid fire them a little bit. So one is, if you don't have history in your family of food allergies, do you still need to be so careful? And then two is, if you've introduced an allergen with no reaction, can you then mix with another allergen?
Mhm. So, in terms of risk factor, the only thing that makes a baby high risk for allergies, based on the research we have right now, is moderate to severe eczema. So, if your baby has a little bit of eczema in like their creases of their arms, that's pretty normal. But if they have eczema that covers a significant amount of their body, you're probably already working with your pediatrician or a dermatologist to get that under control. Your baby at that point is higher risk for developing an allergy. If you have a family history of allergy, the research actually isn't necessarily correlative that that's going to cause an allergy. So that's really not even something we worry about. If your baby has an established allergy already, so like you already know they have a milk protein allergy from breast milk and or formula, your baby at that point also goes into a higher risk group. But if you're not in one of those two, no need to have any, super high risk. Can they still develop an allergy? Yes, but they're just in like the regular risk pool. Introducing the two allergens together, hypothetically speaking, yes, I would say most people continue to separate for the first exposure just because it makes them feel more comfortable. But if you, like we were talking about yogurt and peanut butter, if you had done dairy and you'd ruled out the allergen and babies had tons of dairy and no issues, and then you wanted to introduce peanut butter by mixing it in, yes, you technically, that's completely fine. Our allergist would be fully in support of that. But just generally speaking, most parents we work with separate them just because they just feel better about it.
Yeah. And if your feet is another question from Ashley on allergens. If you are exposing, like, is there any exposure to allergens that happens through breast milk?
Not enough that it matters, unfortunately. Yeah, if your
Okay.
baby is getting a dairy based or soy based formula, that counts, but the exposure through breast milk and for is unfortunately not enough. We're publishing an article on that right now, so it's getting our allergist is writing on it right now.
There's science coming.
Yep,
All
science
right.
coming.
Okay. Just scanning here. Um, where do you recommend people getting trained on choking rescues? A question from Julie.
Yep, American Heart Association, American Red Cross both have classes you can take. We have a completely free downloadable guide that has photos and written out directions, but it's always good to like be an in-person class to do like hands-on. But American Heart Association, American Red Cross. And I see your
Um,
local hospitals offer the courses too. Yep.
okay. This is a question from Isabella. Are there any foods to straight up avoid or that are off limits
Mm-hmm.
or that you should wait till,
Yep. Two categories. One, foods that would potentially make your baby sick. And the second category are foods that are high risk of choking and very low nutritious value. So, foods that are more likely to make your baby sick, number one is honey. High risk of infant botulism. We avoid honey until you're one or until your baby's at least one. The second kind of foods that are in that category are things like raw milk, cheese, dairy. Your baby is much more susceptible to getting the food poisoning from those foods. Uncooked bean sprouts, raw fish, raw meats, anything in the category that would potentially give you foodborne illness is going to be much more risky for your baby. So we avoid those until they're older. Unfortunately, there's no good answer as to like when the risk decreases, the risk is just higher the younger they are. I introduced sushi to my kids around 18 months. That was what felt safe to me. That's a personal choice. In terms of foods to avoid in the second bucket, it's things that are high risk of choking but low nutrition value, like Skittles, marshmallows, like hard candies. If you really wanted to share Skittles with your baby, could we make it safe? Oh yeah, you can get a mortar and pestle out and crack that thing up. And if that really meant
It's a
something to
tablespoon
you,
of sugar. Yeah.
whatever. If you feel like you really want to do that, more power to you. But we recommend that you avoid things that are high choking risk and low nutritional value.
All right. What's your thought on salt and seasoning?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. That's like 20 people's
Yeah,
questions, so
yeah.
we'll just
And
crack that one.
and I love this question because there's also so much drama and stuff out there. We have dug through the research on salt and sodium in babies. There is no research that says that babies are not allowed or it's not safe for babies to have sodium. Shocking. And if your baby was actually in the NICU or in the hospital, there was sodium in their IV bag. There's sodium in breast milk. There's sodium in formula. Sodium is not going to hurt your baby. With that said, we all consume too much. We can all, as human beings, especially in the United States, consume more sodium than
Processed
we
food. Yeah.
should for our diets. So, what we recommend and what our dietitian talks about is balance. If you're making a super highly processed, salty meal, maybe don't share that with your baby or share a part that isn't extra salt, like add salt to your dish after you've cooked it. If you make a big stew and there's salt in that stew, it's completely fine to share it with your baby. But what we know is that your baby's palate is going to develop based on what they're exposed to a lot. So if they're exposed to all highly salty processed foods, they're more likely to gravitate towards those foods as they get older and they can make independent food choices. Again, we all know that we should be eating more whole foods and less highly processed salty foods. So the more we expose your baby to the less salty foods, the more likely they'll be willing to eat those later. But also, you want your baby to know that food tastes good. Like, and it's completely fine for them to have a dash of salt here and there. When it comes to seasoning and spices, go for it. My now 3 year old used to eat kimchi like it was going out of style. Like, don't be afraid of spice. When it comes to things that are super spicy, pair them with something like yogurt, a cooling food, and just go low and slow. So don't give them a whole ton at first, but it's completely fine to expose them to those things. Remember, like Michael said earlier, it's all brand new to them. So I have this amazing video of my daughter having turmeric for the first time, and she was like, what in the world is this? But the more you expose them to it earlier, again, the more likely that they'll be willing to eat it and be interested in it later.
All right. All right. I saw a question from Lauren and then someone else. This is actually, I think, for me, but also, Kim, if you have a perspective, feel free to chime in. Is there a preference between stainless steel versus silicone plates and bowls? And so this is really a matter of preference. At Lalo, we have our stainless line, and then we have two lines of silicone plates and bowls, as well as other dishwares, baby spoons, and then our stainless utensils, which are a little bit more for toddler use. It's a preference. Stainless is a touch more expensive, but not enough more that it's going to break the bank. We're talking about $1 or $2 more, depending on the item. Um, and it really comes down to your preference. That being said, silicone, if you use scented dish soap, I would, and you're not, and you don't want to change that.
And you don't
I
want to
would,
hand wash everything.
you don't want to hand wash everything. I would consider going stainless only. Um, your other option is plastic, but I would avoid plastic because the constant use of utensils and different things on it, as well as going in the dishwasher, could leach microplastics into your food, and I would avoid that. But I would stick because silicone can absorb the fragrance that's used in those scented dish soaps. In my house, and we sell it on our website as well. We sell Blue Land dish soap, dish detergent, which is completely fragrance free and all natural and non toxic. And there is no absorption of any dish taste. But at my parents' house, who also has Lala dishes, it does, and I can smell it. And you can taste it sometimes on the food. And you may have seen this on the internet. There is ways of getting it out of the
Yeah.
silicone by baking it or boiling it and getting it out. I believe we have an article on our website about that, but you won't have that issue with stainless. So I love our stainless line. I love our silicone line. We have two, like I said, we have our suction line, and then we have our plates and bowls that have a rigid core inside. So they're not microwave safe. They are dishwasher safe, but they feel like real plates. They're not flimsy. We call that our Big Bites line. So
I,
I think
I
both are
personally am
great and
really
both are safe.
liking the move towards stainless steel because they are they're more like normative with the family, like a family member would eat off of a stainless steel dish. And so I know
Yep.
that having the cute kid stuff is important. Like, again, my kids love the Lalo Paw Patrol stuff, like love
Yeah.
it. But also, like, I want them to learn to eat off of the ceramic plates that my entire family eats off of. And so
Right.
it's beneficial from a cognitive standpoint for them to learn how to use those kind of plates too.
Yeah, I mean, The Strategist, New York Magazine, just posted an article all about our stainless line, and the writer, the title was about how she shares the bento box with her daughter. Like she takes her lunch to work in the same bento box her daughter brings to school. So like we want products that are multifunctional, like our nesting snack bowls. If you're hosting mahjong night, you can put out chocolate almonds and Swedish fish in here, and you can also put you know raw almonds and baby carrots in there for your little one in
After
your
the
diaper
almonds
bag.
have been after tree nuts have been introduced.
Right. Allergen comment. Important. So personally, we're a stainless house. We also use our silicone stuff and we use all natural dish soap, so it doesn't matter to us at all.
Yep.
Um, all of
Speaking,
it is sold on
I
Target.
I use this myself too. So,
Oh,
you
there you
know,
go. Yep. Yeah, it is big enough. You can do smoothie, you can do drink. I should have put my cold brew in it. Um, Yeah, and I think there was a question of like if you could only buy one of the things in the new collection or the feeding stuff that's at Target, what would you buy? I don't know if you have a comment on that. They are buy one get one 50% off, so you can get one and a half
I
now
mean,
maybe.
I love these. Like these are great for learning. I mean, these are great for young kids. These are great for toddlers. I love these. But the bento box is like the most used item in our in my cabinet for sure. Like, and we
Yeah.
have a variety of different lunch boxes, and that's always the one that my daughter picks. So,
Yeah, we use the bento box every day for both my kids for school. And one thing that I love that I have all the samples of with our name on it. In a week, we're launching personalization on our bento boxes on our website, so you can
fun.
put your family name, your kid's name, so you don't lose it at school. Which so that's a little thing. But one thing I do love about the cup is that the straw itself inside is stainless and it comes with a brush. So instead of it being plastic inside, it's stainless inside, which I love because I think it defeats the purpose. And our product team obviously thought it defeated the purpose to have a plastic straw inside a stainless cup. Silly, right? So we made it all stainless. Um, I also right now I still think smock bibs when you're starting solids. Like if you're a mess hater, like if you're not going to go naked and put them in the bath after, the full long sleeve smock bibs just are a great starting solid win, and also BOGO 50 at Target this week. Um, all right, I am going to choose one last question, then we're going to get to the giveaway. Um, let's see who's the lucky question. Oh man, I'm trying to find one that can answer everybody or a few people at least. Um,
While he's looking, just know if we didn't get to your question, feel free to email us at
y-
hello@solidstarts, DM us. We answer all of our DMs. We are there for you with a feeding therapist supporting our CX team. So please email us if you have questions.
yeah. You know what? I think we've covered a lot of it. So unfortunately, like I think we've covered it. Like you said, email email solid starts on Instagram, sign up for their emails, be a part of it. We are also always putting out content in partnerships with folks like Kim at Solid Start, so you can keep an eye on our Instagram as well. While I get the winners from my team, I'm going to launch two quick polls. It's always interesting to find out a little bit more about who's here. So I'm just curious who here is already a Lalo customer and who is maybe not yet. Um, then we will get to. All right, awesome. Like 50-50 split. Well, welcome back to those that are customers, and hello to everybody that's new to our community. Um, All right. And then go when if you right next to the chat, there's a raise hand, but you don't click it yet. If I call your name, when I call your name, please say that you're here, and then we will use that to assign the winners, and our team will be in touch with your prize. Reminder, full subscription to Solid Starts, their new book, and our full stainless line for 5 lucky winners. And while I announce it, I'm also gonna put up one last poll, which is just what other topics do you want to see? If we find other experts like Kim on other topics, what topics and experts do you want to see? And the first winner is Ray Cortado, RHEA Cortado. And I have backups of these people. Looks like maybe she dropped. All right. So the second winner is Kara Leaf. Kara, if you could raise your hand. Yay, Kara. Okay, Kara's here. Our team will reach out. You are the first lucky winner. The next one is Madison Tunender. I hope I pronounced that right. Madison's here. All right, Madison, our team will be in touch with your winnings. The third winner is Emily Miller. Emily, are you here? All right, Emily's here. I see it in the chat, but okay, that's three. We got three down, two to go. The next winner is Jennifer Nambo. Jennifer, if you're here, raise your hand. Jennifer, are you here? Okay. Jennifer going once. Oh, there you are in the
There.
chat. Raise your hand. Okay. Last but not least, Mallory Schwartz. Last winner of today, Mallory Schwartz.
Woo.
She's here. Okay, you know what? I'm feeling generous. We're gonna have a sixth winner. I just committed to it. It just feels so fun. I feel like Oprah. Um,
Throwing out content.
Natasha, yeah, Natasha Santa Olaya. or is that, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Natasha Santa. All
There we go.
right, there she is. All right. So, six winners. I lied about being five. This was super fun. Thank you all for joining. I think it was actually our longest one ever. There was such great conversation and such great questions. Thank you, Kim, for sticking on. As a reminder, follow us at Lalo. Follow Solid Starts on Instagram as well at Solid Starts. Stay tuned. You guys are in much better hands now and better shape entering your starting solids journey. There's lots more milestones to go on that side. So, if there's anything you want to see for us, DM us, email our support team, message us on the website. They'll forward it to our marketing team who can make sure we can do even more of these. If you have friends right behind you starting solids, let them know that we do this once a quarter. And so we'll be back probably June, July with the next one. And thank you guys for joining us.
Thank
Bye,
you
everybody.
all. Bye.